It's happening again. Another example of how a Zionist has infiltrated and co-opted an institution that's kind of meant for the general public to share their views and be uncensored, and used his position of power to infiltrate, or in this case found, and then use it to subvert a message on the Palestinian people. And it's been happening for years, it's been happening for decades. Muslims have always known this, we've always had our voices subdued or reduced, or we've always had the nomenclature of extremist, radical, etc. Now it's happening to everybody. So if you want to read about the Gaza genocide, Jimmy Wales is already committing to changing the Wikipedia stance on that. Now that's against his very own viewership, and that's happening with the mainstream media, that's happening with the new media, that's happening with our chief prosecutors, it's happening with our politicians. Everything is being censored to support and put weight to the Israeli position against what the general public know. It's not going to work. It didn't work with the Iraq War, it's not working now, but that's happening. And really what we're seeing now is the war between wars, the preparedness that they're going to be putting into place, whether that's buying the news media, whether that's buying TikTok, whether that's interfering with coverage, politicians locking in. And the Zionists are now preparing for the next crisis, but they're preparing very hard and very effectively early. And that means that we cannot go to sleep. And we have already gone to sleep. I've already seen the massive drop off. And look, I've been sick for a couple of weeks and I haven't been posting, but I've been checking up and monitoring, and the level of activism has dropped when it comes to Palestine. 250 odd Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire. Shock horror, said nobody. Israel was never going to honour that. But what was equally as disappointing and equally as unsurprising, and I'm not talking about the general public here or activist groups, I'm talking about the Muslim groups, the mosques and the Muslim institutions on the whole have already switched off. They've stopped mobilising, if they ever did. They've stopped educating, if they ever did. They've stopped acting, if they ever did. And that sincerity of outrage and action is not there. So what we need to do is hold our mosques to a higher standard. The Muslims are being attacked, but the non-Muslims are standing up for the Muslims. Individual Muslims are standing up, but the institutions are not. So what we need to do is now put pressure on the mosques to say, look, during this period between one crisis and the next, what are they going to be doing to mobilise, to educate, to coordinate? And it's that simple. And if they're not doing it, then we need to hold them to account. And I say we, that's a collective us. If we're on the front lines and we're fighting the Hasbara and we're fighting our organised politicians, we can't have our institutions, and I'm highlighting the mosque, but you can pull out your own, sitting on the sidelines waiting for the next crisis to happen.